Hi, friends. You're listening to The Other 50%, A History of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Oliver. This is the show where we talk to women and historically marginalized people and share their success and strategy in the entertainment industry. We also talk to people who are doing the work of creating more opportunity and making things better in the business. And sometimes we talk to people who are doing both. Today is one of those days. Today I got to speak with two-time Emmy-winning producer Sasheen Artis, who is the founder CEO of Plenty of Pie, a talent incubator and production accelerator offering leadership development, practical producer skill training, and mentorship to emerging and mid-career creatives of color. Sasheen has worked with such newsmakers as President Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and director Jonathan Demme. Her latest film, Birthing Justice, addressing Black maternal health outcomes, screened for 200 countries at the United Nations and is part of a continuing education course for the American Medical Association. It currently airs on PBS, and you should go watch it. She got her start at Paramount Home Entertainment, working on blockbuster marketing campaigns for Titanic, Mission Impossible, Braveheart, and TV series like Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Nickelodeon's Rugrats. She's a member of the Television Academy, the Producers Guild, and Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority, Inc. Sasheen is originally from Harlem, New York, and earned her BA in psychology from Stanford University. We talked about all the things she's working on and shared our unpopular opinions about the color purple. You can find us online at theother50%.com, all spelled out in letters, as well as on all the podcast places. And you can find links to everything I'm up to on the link tree that is in the show notes and at julieharrisoliver.com. Here, have a listen. Sasheen Artis, welcome back to The Other 50%.
Thank you so much for having me, Julie. It's been amazing to see you blossom and grow, and I'm so glad to be back.
It's so nice to have you. I remember we talked in 2018, episode 132. If you're following along at home, you want to go look it up and hear Sasheen's amazing life story, which you won't believe. So go listen to that. We won't dig into it all again. We'll make people go back and listen to 132. It's probably on the website. I don't know if it's on Apple Podcasts anymore, but it'll be on the website, and I'll link to it in the show notes. So I know you've been up to so many things, so I definitely want to catch up. Is that 6 years since we talked? 18, 19, 20, 22, 24?
Yeah, it's everything pre-COVID. It's sort of like a whole century ago.
It's like a whole lifetime. Everything has changed and nothing has changed. And what is time? So what have you been up to?
Oh my goodness. So let's see. In 2018, at last we spoke, I don't know if I had just come back from Jordan or if I was heading to Jordan.
I think you were headed there.
So it was an amazing trip. I had been invited by Her Royal Highness Princess Rym Ali and the Royal Film Commission to do a workshop there with their creatives. And it was brilliant. So I created this curriculum, and it was 8 spectacular Jordanian, Syrian, Palestinian, just a whole host of beautiful, beautiful stories and creatives that wanted to understand the Hollywood system, understand pitching and all the things. And so I had an opportunity. I had another PGA member with me, Producers Guild of America. Her name was Rachel Watanabe Batten. She's an Emmy Award-winning producer. She came with me. She's based in New York. And so she flew out of New York. I flew out of LA. We met there, and it was just a spectacular, 10 days. It was just brilliant.
Incredible.
2018 was 2018. And then 2019, I actually worked on a show called Lost LA. And that was a docuseries for KCET. And that was really cool. It's all things Los Angeles, these hidden gems, going through different archives all across the SoCal area. On that show, I produced 6 episodes with them and won 2 Emmys. And it was crazy because I won, during COVID. So I literally, was sitting on the edge of my bed in some sweats, drinking some tea.
You didn't get to go to the party?
No parties, no paparazzi, nothing. It was just like, oh yeah. So I did get the second, which was great.
Amazing.
So that was fun. And then in 2022, I had the opportunity to work on a documentary, a feature-length doc called Birthing Justice. And it's on Black maternal health outcomes and the solutions that are working across the country. We went to several different locations: Augusta, Georgia, DC, the Boot Heel of Missouri, as well as St. Louis, as well as Los Angeles. And we, traveled around and found these amazing women, women who had complications with their pregnancy, but overcame them with, the care and medical treatment that they needed. And understanding that, when you provide those services, to women, and whether it didn't matter whether they were poor or wealthy, upper middle class, lower middle class, did not matter. They had these opportunities to get care, and that care saved their lives, saved the lives of their babies. And it's currently, Birthing Justice is currently airing on PBS. It's still there on the pbs.org platform. It's really aspirational. It's very hopeful. It's not depressing at all. So please, people can go check it out and be uplifted. One thing that was great about the documentary is that the American Medical Association picked it up as a continuing education course. So now medical professionals, if they need to get units, because a lot of times you have to, even though you have your MD and you're working, you still need to get continuing education credits. They can take that course, watch the film, and then they can incorporate those practices into their own medical practice.
Because I was going to say, if Serena Williams can't get competent maternity care.
Exactly. Serena, Beyonce, one of our executive producers, Allison Felix, she's an Olympian. She has like 11 medals, probably the healthiest woman in the world. And she, had eclampsia. And it was one of those things where it was life or death. And, she had to deliver her daughter prematurely. And she goes into this all, in the documentary, how scary it was, and she didn't have any understanding of what was going on, or that she would be even prone to it. So, a lot of times doctors have to take a little bit more care with their Black female patients and make sure that, they're monitoring their high blood pressure and all those things. So it's a great documentary to learn from and to be uplifted by.
Wonderful. It's so important. I'm so glad that you have done that.
Thank you.
Can we talk a little bit about the diversity initiative at the Producers Guild of America, Power of Diversity Master Workshop?
Yes. So back in 2017, well, I should start a little bit earlier. So I joined the Guild in 2013, became a mentor of the program in 2014. And, really, start understanding what they were trying to do, reading through the mentees projects, and then joined their selection committee in 2015. And in 2017, I was invited to chair the project, the program. And it gave me an opportunity to see, oh, there's no infrastructure. Oh, they're just kind of winging it. I was like, oh my God.
What are we doing?
So it was insane. So I had to, develop a manual and really get a rubric established in terms of how the selection process was implemented. And then really made sure that our mentors were trained to be very intentional. So not just give advice, but, give advice, and also making sure that they had opened up their Rolodexes and, invited them to opportunities, different networking events, making sure that there was actual engagement with the participants, so that when they culminated and, they practiced their pitches, and we had them pitching to, folks like Mary Parent of Legendary Entertainment, and Prentice Penny with Issa Rae's company and her show. And, getting these opportunities that they may not have ever had, but they were real opportunities. So, folks actually reading their scripts, reading your treatments and proposals, connecting them. Like Mary Parent, one of our participants, he was graduating from AFI, and his senior thesis, she had connected with him. She connected him to Sundance, like the collab, And then from Sundance, he was connected to Spike Lee, and Spike Lee boarded his senior thesis project as an EP. And it's like mind blowing. It's insane. But, it was opportunities like that that the Producers Guild diversity workshop really, I really made sure that participants got real connection. Because a lot of times, people will bounce from workshop to workshop, program to program, and they're just bouncing. They're not actually getting, projects made. They're not getting, hired. They're not getting agents. But I was really intentional about making sure that they were going to get something out of it.
So you went ahead and produced that program.
I did. I am a producer. That is what I do.
And that feels like the missing piece of so many programs. I was just speaking with the women of Gen XX Project, and you can shadow your entire life as a director, but it's getting the actual job, getting the actual opportunity to take all of your preparation and all of your education and all of your practice and make it actually happen.
Exactly. I mean, I think, if you look at the landscape of programs out there, there are so many writers programs, directors programs, animation, editor, below the line, all that, but very few for producers. I mean, if you go, you could go and get a degree if you want to go to USC or UCLA, or if you want to, if you're already a member of the Writers Guild, you could do their showrunners workshop. But there's very few opportunities to really get that pathway to leadership and pathway to, understanding all the things that it takes in order to be a producer, the budget, the schedule, risk management, conflict resolution, negotiations, all the things that we need to know as producers and implement every day on every project.
Yeah, it's so important. And also, like when writers get in that producer position, because you've been a wonderful writer, but you may not have really had any training in those particular skills that you so need in order to make this work.
Right. I mean, producing is managing, a team, and it could be a team of 100 and some odd people. Producing is like business. It's, entrepreneurial. It's, finding financing. It's, connecting with all the people that are going to be involved in this process and being able to help them see your vision and help them implement that vision. So it is a skill set that is not writing, it's not directing. It really is very unique, and it's a very powerful space. And that's why you'll find that there are a lot of people of color that aren't in those spaces. They don't even know how to or know that they exist, except for the fact that they're the persons that, that's how they get hired. They send their resume to the line producer, to the EP.
So I was looking back at the episode we did together, 132, and I had written in the notes that we had nailed the business case for diversity. Which seems so ridiculous to me now, and that such archaic language. And why is anyone still proving a business case? And I read something recently on LinkedIn, and I wish I had written down the woman who wrote this comment, because it has stuck with me and I want to give her credit. But she asked, it was on a long train of some DEI something someone had put up. When was the last time a group of white male executives were asked to do a business plan as to why their leadership team should stay homogenous? And never is the answer.
In the history of anything, yes.
In the history of ever, never has that ever happened. And because we're all just expected to just think that that's the way the Lord
That's the way.
Which is absurd. Okay, so knowing where we are now and kind of where we've come in this journey, what do you think the actual next steps are? Because enough making the business case. We all know the business case. So what do you think are our next steps to actually implement some real change?
I think the next steps really is to start getting into those spaces of leadership, because there's no way you're going to be able to convince someone. They're good with where they are. They're okay with leaving the bill. Yeah, they're okay with leaving billions of dollars on the table and wondering, oh, what did we do? They're okay with that. And until someone says, okay, this is what we do, and have the power and the authority to say that and do it and implement that, that's when things change. So I feel it's really important for, historically marginalized communities, historically excluded communities. And that's all, all the intersectionality, you know, everyone needs to have a place at the table, and they need to have the power to do the thing and to make the change. So I think it's really now about, moving those spaces into leadership, moving those creatives into leadership positions, and giving them the soft skills training and, all of the tools, because, a CEO isn't a CEO just by title. A CEO, they get executive coaching. They learn how to, dress, they learn how to eat. They get all of those things. And no one talks about that. It's very hidden. But, there are people out there that are selling services to CEOs for $500,000. It's like, are you serious? There
Well, you
are
need
opportunities.
executive presence. And
Yes,
that's the thing
yes,
that's taught.
yeah, and so why is it that they're taught that, but they're not taught how to actually make a creative decision? How to weigh looking at a story, looking at a script and whatnot, and thinking about the audience that it should be made for, and where that audience resides. When you have all of those things, when you have the executive presence and you have the creative moxie, and you know exactly where your project should be, that is gold. That is gold in the bank. And I think it's time for, folks like myself, and for all of the folks that I know who are working in this space, to really start thinking about leadership opportunities and training folks to get into spaces of leadership.
Amen. I think this is where Plenty of Pie comes in.
Exactly, exactly. And so that's what ended up, I coming out of the Producers Guild's diversity workshop. They totally, after my term ended in 2020, we had pivoted during COVID. We made it online, and it was amazing, because then you could, get people from all over to engage. I realized that you had the opportunity, even online, to create community. So the virtual space wasn't a hindrance; it was actually a help. And so I looked at, well, what is needed, and obviously for me, it's all about leadership, all about producing and getting people in in these spaces to lead. And so I launched a company called Plenty of Pie, and it's a talent incubator and a production accelerator to train, provide that soft skills training, that leadership development, as well as those hard producing skills, the budgeting, the scheduling, all the things you need to know as a producer. And my production accelerator is really focused on, producing diverse projects, producing projects that are, whether they're film, TV, or documentary, but are specifically, their core audience is a diverse audience. And diversity is a very wide ranging space. So it's not just race or ethnicity. It's LGBTQ, it's religion, it's military, it's gender, and it's disability and accessibility. And so understanding that there are rich, bountiful stories out there, that, people, they've probably read them, they've possibly even optioned them, but they've never produced them. And it's like, well, if you liked it enough to spend the money on it to option, or you liked it enough to give a person a job on someone else's show, well, maybe we should just like if we like it, let's make that, you know?
Mhm.
There are literally piles of scripts out there that have never been made that people actually like.
Yeah.
That can be made, that do have an audience. And so I started Plenty of Pie with the intention of finding and curating those scripts, finding those projects, and connecting them to distribution, connecting them to funding opportunities, and getting them made.
So this feels like the most gate kept, if that's how you say the word, gate kept
Hmm.
area.
Hmm.
Is the connecting to the to get in the room to pitch, to get to the financing, to get to the power, I'm saying in quotation marks, that can
Hmm.
make something actually happen. Because there's a lot of, I think there are a lot of programs that help people prepare and help
Hmm.
refine their idea and refine their pitch and get ready to do the thing. So I think where your program, at least one of the ways it's super unique, is to actually make that connection. So how do you do that?
Pick up the phone. A lot of
Because
times
you know some people.
I know, and even when I don't know them, I'm like, I make the case and I call them cold sometimes if I have to, or if I don't know them, can I get to someone that I know who knows them? Because that's what we do as producers. I don't know everyone in this town. Everyone doesn't know me, but that whole 6 degree of separation is real. There are I do have 6 degrees of separation to Kevin Bacon. It's crazy.
It's probably less than 6.
It really is, and that's a whole story unto itself. But understanding that we are all connected in this industry, and if I don't know someone, I know someone else does. But it really becomes a question of just picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, I have this project," or "Hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Are you interested?" Because a lot of times, people don't know they're interested until you ask them, and they're like, "Hey, well, let's think about it. Let's talk about it. Let's get to know each other," because it's all about relationships. And people want to succeed. They want success, and if you're bringing them an opportunity that smells of success, they want it. They want to know about it, and they want to see how they can get involved. So that's what I try and do.
As you're talking about that, you sound so fearless in a town that's run by fear.
You know, I- there's fear, there's healthy fear, and then there's fear that stops you. And I understand that, I don't know everything. I don't know everybody. I don't have the money. I don't have the things, but I know that I have a vision. And as a producer, what we do is we take a vision and make it real. That's what we do. That's what I've been doing for the past 20 some odd years, like what, 29 years. I take a vision. So if you say, Sasheen, I want to do a movie about butterflies, okay, we could do a movie about butterflies. There's no fear in that. And because I know, okay, I know what a butterfly is. What type of movie do we want to make? Do we want to make an animation? Do we want to make a documentary? Do we want to make some experimental Kafka-esque thing? It's all about knowing what it is, strategizing it out, planning it out, and then doing it. And so for me, fear, it's as long as it doesn't stop me, as long as it doesn't paralyze me, it's healthy. It's a healthy fear because you don't know until it happens. You don't know until someone picks up the phone. You don't know until they say yes. So,
Back to, I don't know, was that book in the 70s? Feel the fear and do it anyway.
okay. There you go.
I want to think, was that Louise Hay back in the day?
Possibly.
I think the phrase still stands.
Yeah, and just do it. It's the Nike, just do it. Just do it.
So who is this program for and what can they expect? What's the process?
So it is for emerging creatives. So, and I say emerging, if you've gone to school, if you've graduated from whatever, and you've been in somebody's workforce for a couple of years and you really, really said, you know what, I've always wanted to direct or I've always wanted to write, and you really are looking at the entertainment industry as a space. That's emerging creative to me. That's someone who has that passion. Then I look at also mid-career. So maybe you're in this industry. Maybe you've been in it for 10 years and you've been an accountant or you've been, in post and you want to make a pivot and you want to pivot to producing. That's fine too. Because for me, it's about understanding, basic concepts. Because I'm not a film school, I'm not teaching lenses, I'm not teaching, the latest cameras. That's not what it is. I really am focusing on folks that know the basics. Now let's get to the nitty. Let's get to that. Let's break down a script and understand how to budget. Let's break it down and how to schedule and build in enough time so that you can make your delivery date. Understanding that producing. When I was talking about having a vision and bring it to fruition, you could plan. The best of plans. The best laid plans they will always, be impacted by all the different troubles of, whether it's, weather, whether it's people, whether it's resources. And as a producer, you have to overcome each of those troubles, each of those obstacles every hour, every day until you get the thing made. And, helping people understand what that feels like. And it's great when it all works. It's great when you deliver on time. But even, if you have troubles along the way, if you have those obstacles, how do you overcome them to get to the thing,
And you
So
have to
for
overcome it every day. Like, you might have
every
some
day.
terrible days along the way.
Yes, yes. And so people, I think, so for my participants, I'm looking at folks who are willing to take on that challenge, because it takes a special kind of person to be willing to overcome challenge and obstacles every day to get to a thing. And it also takes the plan and the strategy and a logistical person. Because everyone wants, at the end, they want the lights, they want the paparazzi and all that. And producing, we just go on to the next thing. We get the we get the opportunity to experience it on the big screen or on the small screen, and okay, now we've moved on. So it really requires a person who has that willingness and that stamina, who wants to lead and wants to learn. And again, it's open. It's not, there's no age. Minimum is, we'd like for you to be an adult, so 21. But
Right.
other than that, it's basically, open.
And is it rolling enrollment, or do you have cohorts?
So yes, I do have a cohort. I'm going to launch my inaugural cohort this year. I'm opening my applications this spring. So people can go on my website and just sign in as a subscriber. And I, send out a newsletter every couple of months, just giving people updates, what I'm doing. This is what's going on. This is how you can engage me, here and there. And then I will announce my open, hopefully in the next couple of months. So that way people have an opportunity to get ready, because, we need a script, and it doesn't have to be, perfect, but it has to be finished. It has to be a finished script. It cannot be an already produced project. It can be for a documentary. It can be a treatment, a documentary proposal. And I also have a free documentary proposal template that
Hmm.
if people want, they can request from me and I'll send it to them. Because those are very helpful when you are structuring a documentary, because from that proposal, it's like 10 pages. It really is very detailed, and it helps the creative understand exactly what they're going to shoot, where they're going to shoot it, and gives them a roadmap, and it helps the reader understand exactly what they're trying to accomplish. So we have proposals available, templates available for them. Um, and I do have currently 5 projects already in my accelerator. We have an FBI project that's amazing. A woman who is a retired FBI agent of 34 years of career. She's an African American woman, one of the highest ranking female agents while she was working. And then I have a movie that's a biopic based upon the life of Hal Walker, who is a laser engineer, African American laser engineer, who's featured in the Smithsonian Institute and the Apollo 11 exhibit. Amazing man. He's still alive, 90 years old. Now he lives in South Africa with his wife, Dr. Betty Walker, and who is also amazing in her own right. So we're doing a biopic on them, and also a documentary series called Common Voices. With the award-winning journalist Bonnie Boswell, who is a journalist through PBS. She has a series currently called Bonnie Boswell Reports, and we're doing a different type of exploration for across the country, looking at diverse communities and, what we're doing to make America better. Make America great again.
I notice how carefully you're choosing those words. Um,
Mhm.
it's so helpful, I think, as you were talking about the documentary kind of pitch template, because it's
Mhm.
one thing to say, "Oh, I have this great idea for an unscripted something or a documentary." It's a very different. I found out recently, it's a very different thing to say, "Okay, what are 6 episodes going to look like? What
Right,
are you
right.
actually going to cover? What's the through
Mhm.
line? What are you building towards? What's the there has to be a reason for someone to watch it other than what an interesting thing." So
Exactly.
it's an incredible skill, I think, to help people do.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I've produced about 20 or so docs, and doc series, and you get into a rhythm with them. And when you're reading something, when I'm reading something that someone says, "Oh, it's a great idea," I should be able to see it. I should be able to visualize it along with them.
Mhm.
So, giving someone a template to help them along that is going to help them with anyone, whether it's me as a producer or anybody else. Being able to read it and visualize it and feel that same emotion and greatness on the page is key. So giving them that template, I think it's free, it's helpful, and also a lot of times people don't know where to start. So if you
Yeah.
say, okay, once upon a time, just start at once upon a time,
Whatever.
and kind of go from there.
Yeah. And then also I remaining flexible enough to, what if it goes in a really different direction? Like the John Baptiste documentary that just came out. That went a completely
Mhm.
different way than how they
Right,
planned at
right.
the beginning of it. It's incredible.
Yes. And
Um,
you have to be willing as a producer and a director to allow your story to breathe and be take on new purposes. So being flexible, but when you're in the pitch mode, when you're, before anything's shot, being able to, give someone a clear delineation as to what they should expect is, that's how you sell it. Now if once you film it and you're like, "Oh, we have a totally different story," that's fine.
that's
But
fine.
you gotta
You
sell it
already
first.
have the money. But
Yes,
don't
exactly.
don't make the person who's receiving your pitch make it up.
Right, right.
Don't
Because
make
then
them
you
work
don't
for
then
it.
it's not gonna be the same story. It'll be their
Right.
story.
Right. Okay, we talked about how people can find you, how do they apply? We did all of this. Okay,
Yes.
tell
Plentyofpie.net.
plentyofpie.net, and we will link to it in the show notes. Now, can
Yes.
we talk for a minute? We started talking about this before we turn on the microphone, so I definitely want to
Mhm,
get in this conversation. Oh,
mhm,
it feels like with the streaming wars in chaos and the
mhm,
strikes, like the industry is trying to reinvent its business model, right?
mhm, mhm.
And how is that playing out from where you're sitting? What does that look like to you?
I think well, right now I feel the industry's in this inertia. Nothing's moving, nothing's happening, and you hear about, oh, someone sold this big package at EFM or someone sold something at Sundance, and that's great. But the reality is that's the one thing, that's the two things, that's maybe the 10 things, but that is not going to sustain an industry. So we have to actually get back into what is this industry supposed to be about? And if it's the business of telling stories, then people have to understand that sometimes that business is not going to be shareholder connected because the shareholder has a different uh imperative than the creative.
This
So
is
we
the
have to
rub. This is
yeah
the rub.
so we have to get into an alignment where the shareholder understands that the business of storytelling is not necessarily the same thing as a consumer product. It's not the same thing as selling, a Pepsi or a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
So let's rethink our model away from shareholder value to creative value. Let's rethink our model back to brand integration and representation. And it's okay because if you are in your home, I'm guaranteeing you have at least 10 brands that you use that you are loyal to. I mean, whether that's Tide or Dawn or what have you, you are loyal to these products. It's okay to show them in their real, in situ, in their real spaces. It's okay. So I don't think we should be afraid of that. And I don't think as a viewer, as audience, that it impedes in the storytelling. You know, if I'm watching a series and someone's at their home and they're washing clothes, I expect to see a box of somebody's soap because what they're washing then. You know, I want you to make it believable. So I think our business model really has to focus back on the creative, really reconnect to what it was originally meant for, which was brands, selling a brand, and move away from that investor relationship that is, that trumps everything. That, oh, we have to make money, we have to give money for our shareholders, so we're going to lay off 10,000 people. No, because now your business is going to suffer from that. So let's rethink our what we're supposed to be doing as leaders, as producers, as executives in this industry, what this industry was originally created for, and go back to that.
I worry that the shareholders are in too deep.
Possibly. And also they don't, they're not really connected to the creative. They don't see the value of storytelling. They're just looking to make a buck. And if you're not connected to the thing that you're making, if you're an engineer and you've built the world's tallest skyscraper, every time you walk past that skyscraper, I have done that. I've contributed to that. I've made that happen. But the shareholders have absolutely no connectivity to the movies that we make, the TV series that we produce. They don't understand how valuable they are in that process. And I think we have to really engage them on a personal level, engage them on a relationship level, understand that, it's not, tech is great, tech is tools, but it's really about humans, and it's really about person and person to person connection. Understanding that, if you have an investor, you're not only taking their money, it's a trust. It's a trust that you're building, and you want to give them something that they can be proud of. It's not just, oh, that it made them a lot of money. You want them to be proud of the thing. And I think we've taken out the emotionality of that relationship, and we've made it very transactional. And I think that's what has made us fall in this space, because this is not a transactional business. It is a relationship. It is about human condition. And when you take that out of the equation, you don't have anything.
This does feel like the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the business itself is profitable as a business.
Oh,
Creates
absolutely.
thousands of really good jobs. But then the
If you
added layer of then you got to pay these people back billions of dollars to the detriment of everyone who's making the stuff. It seems insanity to me.
And it is. I mean, there was an article a couple of weeks ago that they had the industry itself as a whole, movies, TV, documentary, all the things, has a $1 trillion valuation. Trillion. TR trillion. I mean, it's like, so
A lot.
we know there's money to be made here. We know that there's great opportunity here, but I think the relationship of what we're doing to the people who are funding it has become distorted. And I don't think they understand how important they are in the process and how we are relating to them. Um, I just think our relationship is broken
Yeah.
because it doesn't serve us when we lose the thing. It doesn't serve us when we lose the industry. It doesn't serve us when we fail to deliver, because we're just trying to make money. Well, no, we want to actually make a story. We want to make a story that audiences enjoy, and we can't do that if we're just trying to make money.
Right. It's the money plus all the
Yes.
things. It's the shaping culture. It's the moving hearts.
Yeah.
It's all the things.
All the things.
So let's talk about, we started talking about kind of the IP cycle of book to movie to Broadway musical to movie musical.
Right. Right. Right.
For
Mm-hmm.
every single thing. And we were talking about The Color Purple. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
that model, it's been so fun. Like Mean Girls, Wicked, Rent. But let's talk about The Color Purple.
Mm-hmm.
It's fresh for me because
Okay.
I watched it last night with my daughter, the musical version. And I
That's
said to her what
awesome.
you said to me, which is I started by reading the book.
Yeah. I started by reading the book. I read the book when I was a teenager, and it was a story that made a tremendous impact on me. But to the point where it's like I don't want to see that song and danced around. I don't want to see, her struggles and the horrors that she lived immortalized in that way. And so that's just my personal take. Um, but I also look at it as when they made that movie, 30 years ago with Whoopi Goldberg, with Oprah Winfrey, that became it's a seminal version. That was it. It's like,
Yeah.
The Godfather. You have folks out there that are, reciting the lines from that movie. They have memes from that movie that have lasted. So even if you never saw that movie, you know the connection. And to remake it, I thought it was unnecessary because, if you're not going to remake The Godfather, then why would you remake The Color Purple? It had that level of quality, that level of, zeitgeist presence
It was
in
perfect.
our culture. It was perfect. And so I look at when folks want to do a remake, it's like, well, why are you trying to do a remake? Are there no other stories that touch on, domestic violence or woman personhood, or, are there no other stories out there? Is it that you want to do a story like that, or you just want to see if you can make more money off of the same story? And I think we fail ourselves tremendously when we don't want to just try something new. Because I mean, you had a great cast, you had, a great opportunity to make something spectacular, and millions of people have enjoyed it, but would they have enjoyed something new? Would you have connected to an entirely new group of folks that weren't trying to compare it to something else? Oh, well, I saw that. Well, I saw this on Broadway. Well, I did. You don't want that. You want something fresh. You want something new. You don't want to give people, the opportunity to compare it to something seminal, because it's never going to live up to it. That's the whole
Yeah.
point of being seminal.
Well, so I was watching this with my daughter last night, who's
Mhm,
23, and I was
mhm,
like, "Oh, yeah, The Color Purple." And I was like,
mhm.
"I read the book, I watched the movie, I saw the Broadway show, and now here's the musical." And don't get me wrong, I love a musical. I'm here for the musical. But
Uh-huh.
we started watching, and she was asking, like, "This is a terrible story. Like, how many hours of Black trauma are we gonna watch right now?" And I was watching it going, "Oh, yeah. Like, why
Yeah.
is what?" And I remember the takeaway from the story being, "Oh, I love that. It moved me so deeply. Oh, it's so beautiful." But then watching it,
Mhm,
it's so traumatic and so
mhm,
horrible. Like, it
mhm,
really is
mhm.
the worst story in the whole world. And then we get
Exactly.
to the final scene where she has survived, she has triumphed, the sister came back, we're
Right.
sobbing, and it's so beautiful, and I think you remember that last feeling as you walk away,
Mhm.
and then you think, "Oh, I love The Color Purple," because you
Right.
remember that
That last
feeling,
feeling. Right, right.
but it's a horrific
It
story,
is.
like,
I mean, I was traumatized
bad.
when I read the book. I read it as a teen,
It's so
teen,
bad.
and I was like, "Oh my god, I never want to experience this life. Never, never." But
You
I
forget because the feeling that's left with you is beautiful story of triumph, and you
right.
forget how horrific it is.
Right. And I think, there are so many stories like that that have yet to be told. And not, again, they had an opportunity to do it. They took it, they, cast it beautifully.
Everyone did a
But
great job.
how yeah. But how many other stories are out there that have similar themes, but you don't have to remake anything. You don't have to go back to, the 80s. You don't have to go back, to history. You could do something present day. I just feel that we're missing out on opportunity because we're too afraid to look at the pile of scripts that are already on our desks, that have already been optioned, that are already there, that have that become that writer's calling card that has gotten them the jobs. Well, let's use that script that they're holding, saying, "Hey, this is a great script," and people say, "Hey, yeah, that's a great script. Go work on the show." No, let's go make this script. Let's go
Yeah.
make this one. And I think we're missing out on those opportunities for fear, for the fear of, oh, what if it doesn't? Well,
Because of the
okay,
shareholders, because of the profit, because of the
right,
everything has to be such a raging success because of the business
right,
model.
right. But a business model that in any other company, in any other industry, would be insane. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we have to spend $250 million on one thing in order for it to make a billion thing, $1 billion.
Yeah.
It's like, who that does that the math isn't mathing. That doesn't even make sense. It's like, why would you put all of your eggs in one basket and then pray, cross your fingers, and market however you market to hopefully make $1 billion, as opposed to making 10, $25 million thing.
Remember the $20 million movies that were so
Right,
beautiful and successful?
right,
Remember the early 90s? I mean,
right.
maybe people
And
don't remember the early 90s, but
I do,
I
and
do.
you had these personal, relationship driven, great pictures that they won the awards, they made the money, but the business model, I don't know if it's laziness, because if you have to make one thing at 250 million, that reduces the amount of time you have to spend. Yes, you're spending more money, but it's only one thing. But if you make 10 things at 25, then you have 10, 10 things you got to make. But it's like that to me, it's insane. And no other company, no other industry would just put, it's like Apple saying, oh, we're only going to make the phone. It's like, really? No, Apple's never going to make just a phone. They're going to make a whole bunch of things, and they're going to hope that you as a consumer finds one thing that you like, and you may find other things that you like.
What, you mean we should diversify the product?
Hello, diversify the product, diversify the stories, diversify the people who are making it, diversify your workforce. Hey,
Well, I'm
let's
gonna put you in
diversify.
charge because you're making the most sense.
Well, I am sure I'm not the only person out there. I feel like at this point no one wants to be that person. No one wants to say what they're thinking, because I can't be the only person.
Of course
It's
not.
just that, there's a lot of folks out there that fear losing their jobs, fear, not getting the thing, fear not getting promoted. And fear kills things. Fear is a killer. It's a killer.
Well, it's a whole industry of creatives, and I'd say the percentage of them who are saying, "Well, I really got to make this come through for the shareholders," is really small.
They're not saying that at all. But what they are saying is we have to make it for the audience. We're trying to make this story. We want to tell this amazing story. We want to show this amazing experience. Or we want people to have a great laugh, or we want people to be scared and be frightened and have that fun experience. I mean, I think people are making it for people, and I think we as producers, we as executives, have to reconnect the shareholders so that they understand too, they are audience. We're making this for them. They are audience.
So, how do you keep going in the face? Because this work is hard, and you're doing it in the
Mhm.
face of a consistently disappointing machine. Consistently.
Yes, I think, I keep going. I keep going and I keep going. I had the pleasure of watching two movies this past holiday. Naiad, well, it was on Netflix,
Yeah.
and then A Million Miles Away on Amazon Prime. Those two movies were like quintessential lessons in tenacity. It's
Mhm.
like, you keep going, you don't give up, even when people tell you no, you keep going, and you just keep going, and you keep going, and you keep trying, and you keep trying. And it's tiring, but in your heart of hearts that the thing is going to work. You know that you can do the thing. You know that whatever the obstacle is you're trying to overcome, it is overcomable. You just have to come at it in different ways until you get to that other side. So I have this, one of the lines in the A Million Miles Away was, tenacity is a superpower. And if you can embrace that and you can hold on to that and you can just keep going and say, oh, okay, this isn't going to work. Okay, well, let's try this. Let's make this happen. And that's not going to work. Okay, well, then let's try this. Because this has to happen. We know the vision has to come to fruition. So I stay in prayer. I'm like, okay, Lord, I can go work at Costco any day now. Let me know. But until such time, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing it.
Like, we hope so much. Well, I'll speak for myself. I hope so much that it's like that cartoon where the person is digging a hole underground and the thing they're seeking is just right there and they don't know they're right here. And so they give up.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Because once the barrier breaks, it feels like then it'll be super accelerated. And
I think so. And I have to hold on to that as a belief and know that, again, I'm not the only person out there. This isn't, what I'm doing, people do. There are hundreds of thousands of producers all across the world in all these different countries making the thing. And we know that when you give producers the opportunity to make the thing and you give them a deadline, it's going to happen. They're going to deliver.
They'll make the thing.
So we make the thing. And so I believe that if you, give me that opportunity, if we say, okay, Sasheen, go ahead, make your 5 projects in your accelerator, we're going to allow you to train 200 producers, it's going to happen. And not only are those 200 producers going to get trained, but then they're going to go out and make 20 projects. And so you have exponential, things happening and you have that shift. And it's a slow progress until it's not, until it's full speed ahead. And, I just keep going and knowing that it is going to happen.
Well, you've inspired me. Tell me what advice you have for people coming up.
I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid. Don't be a yes person just because you're afraid. Be honest with people, be reliable. I think, this industry, a lot of people say, when you're trying to get in whatever form or fashion, whether you're, creative or not, you have to show up. You have to be there. You have to actually, if someone says, okay, I'm gonna give you a shot, take the shot. Don't be like, oh, don't be afraid to take that shot. I think a lot of folks, they get someone on the end of the phone and then they don't know what to say, and it's like, practice, strategize, practice, and pick up the phone and say what you want to say. Ask for the thing you want to ask for. Ask for that opportunity. Or, if you see an opportunity that is, made for you, take that opportunity. Don't be afraid because there's no barrier in this industry that can't be overcome. And that's a hard thing to say, knowing all the barriers that are here. But they can be overcome, and you just have to figure out that way to overcome it. And ask people. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Is there anything I didn't ask you about that I should have asked you about?
Oh my. No, I think we covered everything. For me, it's plenty of pie. I have a webinar series currently that I'm offering folks. I do on plentyofpie.net. It's called Demystify Entertainment. We're doing a TV series development workshop as well as a fundraising for media projects workshop. They are fee-based, and you also receive a 15-minute online consultation with me. I answer questions, I give advice, whatever you need, to help you navigate this industry.
Wonderful. Okay, people can find you at plentyofpie.net. Any place else?
Yep.
You want them?
And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm always wanting to connect to folks on LinkedIn, and I'm on Instagram. Just my name, nothing interesting. Just Sasheen Artis on Instagram, LinkedIn, Sasheen Artis, and Plenty of Pie, plentyofpie.net.
Okay, it's always such a pleasure talking with you. Next time, before 6 years go by. Thank you so much.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Julie. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, A Herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Oliver. Thank you to Sasheen Artis for sharing her story. And special thanks to Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and rate and leave a review to help other people find it. You can reach me at julieharrisoliver@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.